Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of Deep True Crime. I'm Manny Rodriguez. In today's episode, I want to cover Xana Kernodle. Her family is now they're seeking any help. And they're literally asking, we need your help. And so they are mailing out flyers pleading for any tips in this quadruple incident. They are asking, we need your help. Who can share this flyer? And they're trying to get this out to as many people as possible. And to the Xana Kernodle family, I hope I'm pronouncing the last name right. I apologize for mispronouncing her name for so long. My apologies. And thank you for those who have been following, who spoke up and shared, because especially when it comes to the victims, I want to do right by the victims, because this is not about me. This is about the victims. And my apologies. The family of Xana Kernodle, they are doing their best as we get close to 6 weeks since this heinous act. They've mailed out 5,000 flyers to homes in and around the city of Moscow, pleading for people to come forward with any information or video they have that could provide any clues. And this is the second time that Kernodle's family has made these flyers. The first batch, this was released 1 week after the murders on November 20th. These posters were handed out door to door and posted around town, but mailing the new flyers is expected to reach more people where they live. And they are trying to get any tips that anyone can think of, any video coverage. Please check things, because there are people that don't wake up to the news, right? There are people who are like, this news is negative. I don't want to watch this news. When you have the killings of Kernodle, her boyfriend Ethan, and her roommates Maddie and Kaylee, this has left their family searching for any answers and grieving the lives of these 4 people who were stabbed to death as they slept in that early morning hours of November 13th. And the post as it shows the photos of all 4 of them and include information about the tip line and how people can submit any video and photo evidence to the FBI. And they have 60 FBI agents and analysts that have been assisting the Moscow police with the investigation, along with Idaho State Police. And this is where we really just want justice, right? Even Aaron Snell, the public information officer for the Idaho State Police, he said, we think it's very important and we appreciate that support from the family because they want any tips that they can get. And Mr. Snell, he reiterated the family's plea that video and photo evidence be submitted for review by detectives and agents that are assigned to the case. He says, we want additional leads as well. Anybody that had looked at some of their past social media posts or past pictures and thinks something's out of the ordinary, something's odd, we want that information. Snell continues, I think we've been consistent in saying that the activity that might have been done within those pictures or those videos that people may or may not want to submit to the police, that's not what we are interested in. We are interested in the context of the crime. That way, we can piece together aspects of this case. We get a better picture. This crime sent shockwaves through the city of Moscow, and it caused some University of Idaho students to either flee the campus or opt to finish the semester online, and even people who have really never even locked their doors before are now locking their doors. They're carrying a GUN with them because they are afraid. They're living in fear right now while this suspect or the perp is still on the loose. Now, Snell, he said that there are no suspects that have been identified. No suspects have been identified. What does that mean? Does it mean that no suspects have been identified at all? They have no clue, they have no leads that lead to a suspect, or they just haven't identified one to the public? See, I feel like that could be taken in different ways as well. Despite hundreds of interviews being conducted, they still have no suspect, allegedly. Police are following leads through nearly 15,000 tips. And remember, I did a video, a day ago, and now it's up to 15,000. 2 days ago, it was like 10,000. Yesterday, 12,000. Now 15,000 tips. So that can either prolong it because they have that many more tips to go through, or it can help lead to something big. But just like this white car, we didn't know about it till much later. And so agents and investigators, they're also combing through these thousands of pieces of video and other evidence submitted to police as they search for any clues that could lead to a break in this crazy case. Now, some have raised concerns that the case is going cold, but Moscow Police Chief Fry, he has promised the public, he has promised the community, this is not cold. And I would say, considering they're getting thousands of tips daily now, this thing is probably far from cold. Veteran retired Houston police homicide detective Phil Waters, he took issue with claims that this case is cold in an interview with Law and Crime Sidebar podcast. He says there's a criteria with which you name a case a cold case. I think people are just using that terminology. A lot of the media uses that terminology because it sounds, sophisticated. I almost have to also throw in, that's why they're probably throwing in that serial thing. Sounds a little more serious if you throw that in there. I think the fact that you say 4 teenagers and what happened to them, that alone sounds pretty, beyond measure. I appreciate that he's even saying this thing is far from cold. And he says we had to have a case for 3 years and had to have had all active leads exhausted, where we've just hit the wall and there is nothing left that we can do. That's exactly why I believe this is not cold. They're not sharing a whole bunch of information. If you notice, it could be a month before they share anything. We just learned about this white car like a week ago, right? And we're going on 6 weeks that this occurred. So if you stop and think about that, well, yeah. And that's why Aaron Snell, he says, this is still going, And so Mr. Waters, he says they need to be more encouraged about what law enforcement is doing and what they're accomplishing at this point. And again, we are hoping and praying they get a suspect. Meanwhile, Mr. Snell said detectives have yet to identify a suspect or suspects in the case. He said the picture of what happened that night is becoming more clear through interviews and results from the crime lab, but he would not elaborate, which also tells me they have more, my friends. They have more. I believe they do have a suspect on their radar. They just haven't named a suspect. They haven't identified the suspect, but I believe they have someone on their radar. And again, they probably are like, we're not going to make an arrest yet. We're going to put all these pieces together so we have a solid case when we go arrest that person. So if you really think about it, that's the best way to approach this thing. Is that not a fair statement? And so Snell, he did say that police are still sorting through registrations for nearly 22,000 white Hyundai Elantra vehicles between the years 2011 and 13. Now, police have said a car matching that description was in the immediate areas, and they believe they're very confident that the person or people that were in that car that night have critical information about what happened. Whether they believe they're a suspect or not, they're not saying. But they believe they have, and it's been said multiple times, critical information. Now, Snell would not say how close the vehicle was to the home on King Road, but another spokesperson told media last week that the car was there. And so now they're looking for this white Elantra, and they did have a lead that they thought, oh, one was abandoned. Let's look into it. But that has been ruled out. I do want to throw in there that they are having a fundraiser type thing, Xana Kernodle. And respectfully, if you are someone who can donate, they have the Xana Kernodle Scholarship Endowment. You can go, I put the link right up there, uidaho.edu/Xana Kernodle. If you can budget it in and you can spare $100 or something and you want to contribute, this is a way to help this community. You know, if you try to take a good out of a bad, this is a way to do that. You know, a way to help them carry on the name. Thank you, Coconuts. I appreciate that. I'm doing my best, my friends. My friends, my whole goal is to be a voice for the victims and to keep you aware of what could go wrong in this crazy world we live in. Because it is a crazy world we live in. And the more you know, the more you can be aware and be a little more safer and careful with the directions you want to go and being a little alert at, oh my gosh, this could possibly happen. Let's be careful with that. Right? My friends, I'm Manny Rodriguez. Thank you for joining me. And please, if you are a person of prayer, pray that we get justice for these kids tonight, tomorrow, something. Pray that we get justice for these kids. I'm Manny Rodriguez. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to serving you again. Peace. Have a great day, my friends.